my fellow patriots. We just finished Dry January. And Dry January started in the UK, but it has made its way around North America and maybe even a good portion of the globe. It started from a marathon runner finding health benefits from it, and has translated all the way to even having subcategories. You can even be California sober, which means you still use plant medicine, but you stay away from alcohol during January. And to talk with me about Dry January, the driest man I know, Mike Wixon. How are you, my friend?
You know what? I am dry, but that's January for you. And I'm going to recommend that you use the right body lotion and you'll be okay.
A little bit of the eczema lotion.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're right. This one only kind of applies to me because I'm watching friends suffer through it. I don't drink, but it is interesting that this year it caught our attention because there's so many articles out, so many findings that are, showing us alcohol is not easy to manage your health alongside, that it can have negative effects very quickly, that it can have long-lasting effects, that it can be really detrimental to the longevity of your life.
Apparently, it's causing anxiety, as they're saying now, that the hangover could lead on to 7 days, your hangover, and it actually can cause anxiety. So we're learning a lot about Dry January and the stats of how people's health are turning around. It seems to be that there's way more people drinking than I ever thought that there was. A very heavy amount of drinking, not just a casual drink. And even myself, I very rarely drink. But I made it 30 days out of 31 in January.
Yeah, but Bradie, honestly, that wasn't 31 days in January. When's the last time you had a drink? Like, in all
9
fairness,
months. It was 9 months before that.
But it's not like you have a problem with alcohol.
No,
you just don't drink. So then when you saw the end of the month coming up, the rebellion in you said, oh, before January ends, I must have a drink.
I am a rule breaker, my friend. Rules are meant to be broken. But yeah, January 30th, I started taking the whiskeys back.
And how many did you have?
Not as many as I wanted because a phone died and I couldn't catch an Uber home before that. But
I don't know. How many did you have?
I had 3 shots and 1 drink.
Okay, so you had 4 drinks. Just so you know,
4
heavy drinking is reflected by 7.
Wait, is that heavy? Is that because I'm so small?
7
or is
drinks
that considered heavy drinking period? Like
I don't know. You might actually, I think that must have something to do with it. I mean, your physicality and how much you should or could drink has to come into it. That has to come into play.
And I never stopped drinking because of health, Mike. Well, maybe because of getting into health could be down the road, but I just get very obnoxious. I'm Irish. I'm small. So every drink I have, I'm 10 pounds heavier and 1 foot taller.
Bradie, you weren't really that obnoxious, to be honest with you.
I told a young man that was working very hard on his shift, taking a break, that if he's young enough, he's 24, he should just do whatever he wants. No responsibilities. Worry about it when he's 35.
Yeah, that is drunken words to a
young
man.
And he left believing me.
No, I don't think he did.
Producer Nick, did he believe me?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well,
so maybe your perception was off. Yeah, maybe your perception was off.
Okay, but going back to Dry January, I almost made it.
Yeah, well, good for you. And many people actually did make it, so congratulations to them. But just taking a look at some. Do you want to hear some of the numbers on alcohol? Because there might be good reason for Canadians to take a dry moment. Emily Robinson, as you pointed out, UK marathoner, track star, stopped while she was training for the Olympics, found that there was some health benefits from it, no kidding, and just took the month off.
And shouts out to the newsroom, because some of these statistics they baffle me.
Yeah, it's great. Research, thank you. Check this out. First of all, heavy drinking. Men, which is for men 5+ drinks on one occasion. For women is 4+ drinks on one occasion. Sexism that I don't endorse, but that's how the science handles it. And apparently, 6.2 million Canadians reported heavy drinking in 2024, up from 6 million in 2023, and down from the record high of 6.4 million in 2022.
Well, we know why that was so high in 2022.
It's all we had to do.
It was COVID fatigue.
Yeah. And then check this out. 80% of men say they drink. 23% of those men are heavy drinkers, and 75% of women say they drink, and 16% of them say they are heavy drinkers.
Now, how much of that is just bottles of red wine?
I don't know. It's funny that you talked about the anxiety, though.
Yeah, anxiety is a real thing.
I promise you it is.
Yeah.
Now, I don't drink, and it's been many years, but for several years, I did drink professionally. And I will tell you, the hangover, as I recall it, was the most depressed, horrible time of my life. Every single time I drank. it caused depression. It made me feel ashamed. It had physical maladies. You feel sick. And when you feel sick, you don't do your best. You have to overcompensate. Overcompensating makes you feel anxiety. Anxiety makes you feel like you're not delivering. And then the cycle continues. So I do believe anxiety is a real thing.
It's a poison at the end of the day, right? Well, alcohol is considered a poison. It's a cleaning product. It could be used for explosives. Like, it is not, I don't know if we should still be drinking alcohol the way that we do as human beings. I think a glass of wine, maybe, a beer. Obviously the golden rule is you have a glass of wine once a week and you're keeping yourself healthy. You have a beer once a day, it's not the worst thing for you. I don't know if I truly believe that. I do think alcohol is a poison. I don't see too many other recreational things that are not, throwing your life out on cocaine or something that causes the amount of side effects that alcohol does.
All right, let's see. Heavy alcohol use increases the risk of chronic liver disease.
It does.
Cirrhosis. It has an impact on cardiovascular, has an impact on fine motor skills. 4,374 deaths in 2023 from chronic liver disease, the 10th leading cause of death in Canada. So there's reason for concern. 3,125 Canadians under 75 died from alcohol and drug use disorders, excluding overdoses, by the way. Alcohol and drug use disorders cause more deaths under the age of 75 than even all motor vehicle accident deaths combined.
Really?
Yeah. So it is a staggering little bit of business there. And also every month, you know what I think has happened? And this is the conspiracy theorist in me, or maybe I'm just observing it, but it seems like alcohol, in my mind, alcohol is something over the holidays that adds a bunch of pounds. It makes you feel a little less than normal as you come out of the holidays. The last thing you do before you go back to work is one last party for New Year's. By the time that hangover is done, you're getting in the car.
You're getting in the car, yeah.
To go to work. So I think in January, people are just exhausted from social. So they're not doing things in a social scenario as much, reducing the amount that they drink potentially. I think they're starting to look at themselves in the mirror at that point and go, wow, I really overdid it. So January historically and typically has the lowest alcohol sales. I'll give you an example. This is from 2023, okay? December sales, 3.3 billion. January sales, 1.9 billion.
So there's a $2 billion difference.
It's typically that way.
Wow.
The other thing that I have in my mind is alcohol is finally getting its due justice from the media, from the health community, where for so long, alcohol as an industry had so much money and so much power to stay out of the way of the bad news that they now have reduced their overall profits. I don't know if this is true. I'm just saying. And now the realities are starting to bubble to the top of the cocktail, showing us the health issues, the long-term abuse issues, the socio-economic issues, the mental issues.
But you're true, though, with the alcohol. Like, the increase in prices, I think, if we were looking there, is about 7%. The price of alcohol is going up. Now, some of that's from tariffs and things like that.
Year over year, about 2.3%.
Yes. So yearly. Is that counterbalancing the fact that the sales are going down? Or is this just, inflation like everything else? It seems to me that, I talked to an activist, Mike Dinsmore, he came in, and that should be already out if you're watching this, about cannabis and how cannabis may have taken away from some of these alcohol sales.
Well, I wonder, this is kind of the next thing that I get thinking about. Sure, people stop drinking for the month. However, they're hitting the Nick vape,
California sober,
the THC vape, smoking more joints, maybe buying more hash. I would love to know if January cannabis sales are up in place of alcohol.
That would be something we should definitely look into, because if I was a guessing man, I don't think they would have gone up. I just think that dry January doesn't include cannabis for a lot of people.
I think so. I think that California sober thing is, it's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
And California sober doesn't mean just cannabis. They mean like mushrooms, kratom, anything that's considered an organic stimulant or a medicine. That's California sober. So you could be, putting down the bottle of whiskey, but picking up a bag of magic mushrooms. I don't know if that's a good balance, but that's considered California sober.
You're not drinking, but you're medicating in other ways. You're feeding whatever addiction or whatever
I'll tell you right now,
disassociative thing that your body needs. with something else.
One little glass of wine is not as healthy as a low dosage, a microdose of psilocybin.
In some people's opinion.
Maybe if you have something else going on and you're not the average person, it's good for you.
I don't know that there's any science behind that, to be honest with you. And I think that's the problem with this. Okay, if you go dry, go dry. But don't go dry and try weed gummies for the first time, maybe. Because I don't know that the results are going to be what you want.
You might go back to the alcohol if that edible doesn't hit you right.
Yeah, I mean, it
might throw you back into non-dry January, wet January.
You might find yourself in a state of psychosis for a couple of days and realize that you would have been better off with a glass of wine. But it is a real thing. Dry January is a real thing. It's kind of commendable. It coincides with people trying to get back into shape, getting back on their diets, living their best selves. Post New Year's resolution.
A lot of comedians do it. Joe Rogan and those guys, they were going dry Januaries. I think that set a trend a couple of years ago too, and I think they're just giving it up now. But they were doing it for working out. They would all work out together, do saunas, things like that. But
they even had a competition. I think at one point it turned into a pretty vicious competition of steps in a day or calories in a day or something like that.
But they were full sober, like dry everything. But they're sitting there smoking these big giant cigars as they're saying they're sober. If you know as well as I do, we've been to cigar bars together. If you smoke a full 2-hour cigar, you are buzzed.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's many ways to offset dry January, and I commend anybody who does it, but I think there's a lot of schmoo in between here and there. I have a friend who won't even
eat spicy foods during dry January because he likes an extreme amount of spice that gives him sort of an hallucinogenic effect.
Okay.
So he doesn't even eat the spice. He literally goes full famine style.
Wow. Yeah. Some people are really taking this thing seriously.
I think it's good for you.
Members of the staff here, I've noticed a dry January for certain.
Yeah.
Because,
most of our team doesn't even partake in alcohol.
That is true. That's a wild thing. When you go to work and most of the people there don't drink.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody on our staff who drinks.
We sound super boring.
Nick drinks and you drink.
Why are we laughing all the time? None of this. See, you don't need alcohol to have fun with your friends.
It's true. I mean, it does help with dancing, though. That's the one thing. Can I just say this about dry January? There's not a lot of dancing going on.
Not a lot, no. Unless I'm around. I'm just dancing everywhere I go.
You're dancing fool.
Yeah.
But
you see me in the airport?
You add fool to that because you're not drunk. You take fool away and just say, that guy's a good dancer when you got a couple of cocktails in you. You know what I mean? But I don't think sober, the hardest thing for me to do is dance.
Really?
Oh, man. Go ahead and comment on this. If you're sober, is it easy for you to get the dance on? Well, it's not, my friend.
Actually, while you're commenting, let us know if you did dry January or not and how it went for you. Don't be ashamed if it didn't go well. You at least tried.
Yeah. Bradie failed, so don't.
I failed. I had a good 8 months leading up to it, but for some reason, the second the month came.
Your defiance is unbelievable. And you did it in Calgary. Well, in all fairness,
I'm a rebel.
You did it. I know what threw you off the wagon so viciously.
I've seen Owen Hart slammies.
Yeah, that's right.
If you see the actual slammies that Owen Hart, the professional wrestler, won back in the 90s, sitting in front of your face, the next thing you have to do is say, can I have a shot of whiskey?
I can't deny you. I can't deny you a little bit of a cocktail, a little bit of imbibing in the place you seemed happiest I've ever seen you at the Hitman Bar, Brett the Hitman's bar in, was it the Cowboy Casino in Calgary?
At the Cowboy Casino, the Hitman Bar, yes.
Okay, let me see what the notes tell me here before we wrap it up, if you don't mind. Growing awareness of alcohol's impact on physical, mental, and spiritual health. Physical, inflammation, gut health, hormone disruption, poor recovery, lowered energy, mental. Alcohol as a depressant, impact on anxiety cycles, emotional volatility. From a spiritual perspective, emotional, numbness versus presence, disconnect from intuition and purpose. That's easy to do when you're drunk. I know. I did that for a couple of years. The idea that alcohol doesn't just take time, it takes away your clarity. And that can actually happen in the workplace. It carries over. You see people hungover, they're not delivering their best.
I've seen a lot of intelligent people just turn into schmucks on booze. Like, Mike, you're one of the smartest guys I've ever met. So how long have you been actually sober?
Oh, 30 years.
30 years.
Plus, yeah.
Could you imagine if you were still drinking? Do you think you'd be able to?
No, we would be on a flight to Vegas right now, you and I.
Yeah, or we wouldn't have left Calgary.
And I would somehow have managed to get us a booking at a tattoo shop to get a full-size bust of Dean Martin tattooed on both of our backs, matching. I think it was a good time.
I'm so glad you're sober now.
People don't realize I'm not broken. My nervous system is overloaded.
Yeah.
And alcohol kind of puts that on the back burner, and really it has mental effects long term.
Yep.
I promise you that. Yep. So
and I grew up like a lot of the kids in I grew up in Cambridge, Ontario, just outside of the GTA. There wasn't much to do. It was a hockey town, more arenas than there was libraries. And that's what we did on the weekend. We drank beer. We had Bacardi 151. We used to love that stuff because you could light it on fire and you only needed a little bit and get the whole group.
Wait, you needed to light it on fire for some reason?
Well, it was 151 proof. It did light on fire.
I have had 151 proof evenings, and I have 151 proof to present with it, because the net result of 151 proof alcohol is always disastrous.
Yeah. This is why we try to share the bottle with as many people as we possibly could. But I got it all out of my system pretty early.
Yeah.
Like a lot of kids in Canada back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we were bored. There was nothing to do. But by the time I was 25, I had no need to drink anymore.
Drinking was
outside
everything in my youth.
Yeah.
Drinking was everything.
Cannabis was the big thing with my group growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it just seems that it's not part of the youth process. No. Not as much anyway. No. I think the laws around drinking and driving,
they're a lot more strict.
How strict it is that you can lose your license forever.
Thank goodness.
I think that there are lawsuits that have happened when people are having house parties. The news is more aware of what happens in nightclubs with drugging people.
Security are now being charged when they're manhandling some of the patrons, even if they are in the wrong.
The licensing commissions are all over every bar.
Insurance is through the roof.
Right. So now we have this culture that doesn't seem as drunk. I mean, it was everything in my youth. Yeah. I remember showing up on a Friday night and then getting home on a Sunday, and it was just alcohol the whole weekend. And a lot of good times. Can I make a comparison? So in those notes, it says the #1 province and the #1 major city that does the most alcohol consumption is Calgary in Alberta. Really?
Okay.
Hold on. I got notes here on.
And I went to
I
went to a gas station at 12 o'clock at night thinking, because I'm from Ontario and this has been a normal thing now for the past year, that I could get a couple beers.
No, brother. They have alcohol specific stores there.
But I also think, too, that the reason why we're seeing it in our corner stores here in Ontario is because alcohol sales are down. And I think this was one of the LCBO sales were done. So why not just put it in front of their face? When you go to a gas station, you see what the counter looks like. It's all just clickbait stuff, for lack of better words, stuff to just grab you while you're standing there. It's idle stuff. Well, that's where the beer is now, too, right?
It's amazing to me that that's allowed. I thought that would never be allowed. And within minutes.
It happened overnight.
There's coolers now right at the checkout.
And it's not just beer.
And then behind, hidden, are the cigarettes.
Yeah, you can't advertise the cigarettes. They have to have rotten feet and hearts and stuff all over them. But alcohol can be out in the open with little flowers and bubbles, and it looks like a kid's drink.
Yeah, it looks like you're actually having the experience. Yeah.
In my opinion, without looking at this paper, I think alcohol sales are on the decline. And maybe it is a generation.
It's not just Alberta. They come in at about $1,600 annual spend on alcohol. Quebec comes in
per household?
Yeah, $1,300. No, this per person. About $1,300 per.
I thought that was high just for the household.
Okay, maybe it is household. Oh, no, yeah, average. Sorry, my bad. I'm a little drunk. Average annual household spending, $742 from retail stores, $441 at bars. Canadian households spend more on alcohol than fruit or vegetables.
No, that can't be a real stat.
Apparently, we spend about $1,000 on fruit and about $1,000 on vegetables.
I spend a lot more than that a year on vegetables.
Good boy.
No way.
Alberta, there you go. $1,662 on alcohol. Quebec, $1,372. The lowest are Saskatchewan. They got to get up early in the morning. These people, they got a lot of work to do on the farms. $710 in New Brunswick. They got the fishing to do, I guess, or foresting. $835 per year. So a big gap, almost twice as much in some provinces. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. And, alcohol remains more expensive than most non-alcoholic beverages, which means that if you're going to make a choice for thirst and quenching, it may not be a beer. It may
what
just
happened to Ford's promise a couple years ago? $1 a beer if I get elected.
Buck a beer.
I never seen the buck a beer.
It sounded great on a campaign.
Yeah. Never seen it.
Well, it's a buck of beer if you and I split it with Nick and a couple of other guys. We just pass it around. They don't want that on the streets around here.
No. And what's I don't know if our producer knows. What's the average cost of a case of beer now? Like if I wanted a 24 pack of Molson Canadian, what would it cost? Do you know, Nick?
Nick's on it.
Yep.
We're going to find it out right now.
Because I remember back
I like
in the
that
day,
he's pretending not to know, though.
It used
I think
to be
that's
$25 to $30.
Yeah.
Right? You get a 24 pack. You could get, if you're really cheap, you can go Lucky Lager. Remember Lucky Lager? There was 75 cents a bottle of beer. So you could get affordable beer. I just want to know, what is the average price?
What were those affordable beers? So it was Copperhead. There was
Lucky Lager. You could, if you really wanted to, you get Black Ice.
Lord.
You can get OE, Old English, the 40s. Oh yeah, I used to partake. Bullmax. These have Bullmax.
I gotta be honest with you, Bradie. I'm feeling my last hangover's coming on.
So as a kid, I used to order a 24 pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade 1 liters.
Okay.
1 liter bottles.
Yeah, yeah.
And we would just sit there and drink the entire box.
You guys were a problem.
Yes, we were. That's why I'm sober now.
You know, one of the things. Sorry, Nick.
12-pack is $27 to $29.
12 packs, $30.
$30 for
So
a 12 pack of
doubled.
beer.
It's doubled since I was drinking.
Do you want to know what I paid for my last 2 for? I think I paid. I could be wrong. I think I paid $29.30.
And that was 30 years ago?
Yeah, it was pretty expensive then, I thought.
Like, you must have been drinking Heineken.
Maybe it was less. Was it 24? It was close to a buck of beer, like
It would've
24,
been about a buck,
24.80 or
$1.25.
something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe buck of beer. So
For-
it was.
For 10 years, it was
How
that
are we going to
cost.
go back 30 years to a buck of beer?
I'm not.
What was he thinking?
I don't know. He
I
was
don't know.
thinking, let me just say whatever I can to get into power, but that's a discussion for a completely different
Look,
show.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to offer up something, if I may, from
Please
a
do,
personal
please
note.
do.
Dry January is an opportunity.
What do you mean?
Well, it gives you the opportunity to say, I'm not going to drink in January. And if you have a problem and you make the commitment not to drink in January, well, I'm going to tell you something, Bradie. At the end of that month, you don't drink anymore.
Yeah, you don't.
And the choice is for you to make at that moment. But at that point, you've got enough momentum. You're feeling better. Alcohol is not part of your extended social scenario. And after 30 days, you've really got an opportunity to become sober. And I think that's the coolest thing about Dry January is it's a soft entry point for somebody to say, I think I can do this.
Well, if anybody watching this has a problem with alcohol, we'll make sure that the information is in the description. But please get help. Please try to dry yourself out, whether it's January, February, March, whatever it is. If
No, you can do it. You can do it.
If
Yeah.
there's a problem with alcohol, get it out now. It is a poison.
All right. Thanks for talking Dry January with me.
Bless your heart, Mike. Thank you for having me. Download the app at the App Store, the Play Store, or check us out at tplmedia.ca. Thanks, Mike, for schooling me on Dry January.